connecting to YouTube right now.
Yep,
We are live.
great. Okay. Yep. All right, so it is 6:03. This meeting is called to order. And we need to, we have the roll call sheet. I haven't signed it yet. Thank you, sir. Right, do that. Anybody else not sign the, okay. Thank you very much. Next order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Simpson, can you lead us?
I can. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. This is a special meeting. So there is only one item on the agenda for tonight's business. And that is to get the report from the committee that was formed, I believe it was back in April, to do a search for a replacement for Director Kaiser, who is retiring from the ESA effective the 25th of this month. So there were 4 members of the committee, and those members met with the candidates. That committee was comprised of Commissioner Jackson, Mr. Simpson, who's the treasurer of the board, Mr. Troxel, and Dr. Treese. All right, so without any further ado, what I'm going to do is turn the meeting over to Mr. Simpson, and he will present the findings of the committee.
All right, the committee received all the applications. We went over them. We had 4 people place applications in that did not follow the policy, did not follow the rules on the way that we wanted things done. So those 4 people were immediately tossed out. Then we had 5 additional people. One guy was from Georgia. And 2 internals, Bob and Craig, and Ronnie Schutz. We also had Donnie Lanham applied, and he had a pretty good thing, but he did not have his schooling. So he did not have his degree, so we could not do that. So basically what we did is we came in and interviewed Bob, Craig, and Ronnie, and the committee voted to bring forward 2 to the board tonight. And as you can see, those 2 are not in here. So what we're, no, the 2 that we're bringing forward to the board. Okay, so they're not in here, so we are going to give them a chance to talk to the board. They're gonna have 5-minute time limit to talk to the board on why they would be the best person for the job. So
for the record, Bob is Bob Burner and Craig is Craig Horn.
that's correct.
And
They're both captains.
they're both current employees.
Yep, both current employees and captains.
Okay. So do you want, I'll go summon whichever one you want to come in first.
Well, we're gonna do it fair.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay. Bob.
That's who's first.
All right, I will summon him forthwith.
So we'll give the board members a chance after they've talked to ask them a question or two if need be.
5 minutes.
Yep, 5 minutes that they're allowed,
We need a different timer.
please.
Yeah, buzzer.
Welcome, Bob.
Yes, sir.
You can stand or you can sit, however you feel more comfortable. But what we're gonna do is, we're gonna ask you to, and during a 5-minute time limit, tell us why you would be the person to hire. And we have the timer, so you're good.
I'd like to know before I hit 4 minutes and 58 seconds. If you don't mind, I'll put that on just to make sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's fine.
And hopefully I won't need 5 minutes. I know those of you that bring the first interview with me probably say, yeah, you do a chronicle. We'll get a little bit back.
But Tony knows a lot about A, B, and C now.
He does. So, could you repeat the question for me?
Yep. Tell us why you would be the person to run the agency.
Well, I'm certainly going to be biased in that answer. The answer to that question is sitting right behind you. The people that are out in the field, on the street, my philosophy, which is aligned very well with Alan's philosophy, is if we take care of those folks, they do an outstanding job taking care of the community. They're where the rubber meets the road. And so then we focus our energy on taking care of them, giving them the support, the tools, the information, the resources that they need to go do the amazing job that they do every single day. If you know Jefferson County, career and volunteer, we do an awful lot with an awful little. That's something that every person that's come from another jurisdiction and hung around here for any amount of time has observed and said. So that's sort of my motivation. I do have some experience, and I won't go into detail on that, but whether it comes to budgeting or management, which I prefer to call leadership, and there is a distinction. Certainly, I try to be more on the leadership side and don't always succeed, but I never stop trying. The budgeting was probably my biggest concern several years ago, and while I'm not certainly not an expert at that, I feel very confident based on my transition and the help I've had from some people that are experts in making sure I understand and do things well to keep us above water and spend taxpayer money responsibly as effectively as possible. Perhaps the biggest thing, if I had to give you one reason why you might want to, why someone might say I'm the guy, is you might find people that have more experience, that have more education, that have more, I don't know what, but you're not going to find anybody that is as personally invested in this agency or that has the passion or attachment as me. I would challenge that to anybody. There's a lot of things that I'm not really the best at. And I know this. I can't hang gravel. Just, I'm not good at that at all. There's other things that I'm pretty good at. But there's one thing that I would put myself up against anybody, and that is having passion for this agency, a commitment to the employees, and truly putting my heart into my work, which I've done pretty much since day one in 2011. And here we are 10 years later. I've had the privilege of working in many different parts of the agency in operations, budgeting, logistics, all the little details down into the nitty gritty. So I think I'm capable of passing that knowledge on, sharing it with all the others that are coming up behind me. And believe me, they're coming up fast. We have a smart group of people here that are very capable and very talented. And I would be honored to be the one sort of responsible for seeing that through. feel like I have 2 minutes left, and I should probably babble, but maybe I'll stop.
All right. Does any of the board members have a question that they'd like to ask? Okay.
How many total years do you have in fire and EMS experience?
Yeah, here at the agency, it's been since January of 2011, so that's 10, I think. Full-time since August, I'm coming up on 10 there. Prior to that, I started as a volunteer in Shepherdstown, and that was in 2005. Close enough, right? Yeah. 2005. And we're also going to test. I did some things there in my time. Certainly not a superstar, but I tried my best and I learned an awful lot from those guys. Certainly don't forget where I came from. And
How long have you been in leadership role?
here in the agency,
Yes.
that's, well, technically since 2015, when I was, when prior to 2015, yes, it was 2015. Prior to 2015, there was a director, a deputy director, and then everyone else was flat. Now, the person that worked here was the unofficial person in charge of the shift, even though they had no real authority or no compensation for it. And also, I started full-time in August. I was placed here. This was where the chase car with the paramedic that kind of ran all over the county was. Was placed here in November, December of 2011. And I don't do well sitting still, so I was almost immediately involving myself in things that got me collateral duties, such as ordering supplies and scheduling and technical things and writing and all that sort of stuff. So I had taken on many responsibilities while I was titled paramedic, all the way back to 2011, 2012 here. At Shepherdstown, I was everything at one point except on the fire side. Ross wouldn't let me complain with him, but I was the EMS captain, I was the EMS chief, I was the president. I held several staff positions, PIO and that sort of thing, membership committee and whatnot. So as far as the titles go, those are the dates. I believe, and I see this in my people every day, leadership isn't necessarily tied to the title. There are leaders on the front line in the entry level position and they stand out and you see how they interact with other people and the initiative they take. And I would like to think, maybe I'm wrong because I'm biased, but I'd like to think I've been a leader a lot longer than what my titles say. At least I hope I have to somebody.
Okay, thank you.
Sir?
What do you see are the biggest challenges facing this agency going forward?
There are several. One is budgeting, not budgeting, but funding. I think that's a problem plaguing the service in general. Simply just don't have the resources to do all that we do. From the underneath the board level at the director and below, one of the challenges is that it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. And I worked in private industry and corporate America and all that jazz. You not only have your boss satisfied, they're the bottom line, which for us, you have no control over profit. So you're all about controlling expenses to make that work. But then you also have a board satisfied, and that board changes faces frequently. I don't mean that you all come and go. I just mean that for someone that's here for 20 years, a board member that's here for 3 or 6 is kind of frequent. You have a commission to keep happy, and then you have 7 volunteer departments that you are working with that certainly have different ideas that you're trying to keep them happy as well, while also taking care of your employees.
Any other questions?
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I have more than 5 minutes with follow-ups, right?
Oh, you didn't hear the buzzer. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, once you stopped on your own, then you
All that's my time. Okay. I'm good. Thank you all. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Evening.
Hey, Craig.
Yes.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna ask you, and we're gonna ask you to tell us why you think you're the person for the job. And you have a 5-minute time limit. After that, you're finished with yours. If you take the whole 5 minutes, that's fine. But the board will also be given a chance to ask additional questions. So whenever you're ready to start.
Reason that I'm interested in being director, I've got over 33 years experience in fire and EMS. I've been a resident of the county my whole entire life. I went to elementary school all the way through college here. I actually even took a master's degree, UWU in Shepherdstown over at Shepherd. So I've kind of been here my whole entire life, worked in the tri-state area my entire life. So I'm familiar with the area, different aspects of the area, the hospitals, the doctors, the nurses, the staff and things like that. I have a familiarity with it. Also, have a background in leadership. I taught at Shepherd Community College, which turned into Blue Ridge Community College. 4 of the 5 captains and lieutenants I taught them in fire and EMS. I was actually an academic advisor for some of them. And the other one I've coached that I didn't, the one remaining lieutenant, I didn't teach at college level, but I had here. And I've kind of given him a game plan on how to move up, and now he's a lieutenant. Worked with grant processes over the past years. We've raised over $60,000 in grant. Regulations grants, one of those grants that we've gone with. A lot of training equipment, some additional equipment that's been beneficial not only to our agency, but to the volunteer agencies, as well as our agency as far as training and our employees. I've been in management before, and director, I've led before, in healthcare environments. Familiar with emergency management, have basis in emergency management. Worked hard with that over the years. I worked for the state office, a contractor for the state office CMS, where we did budgets, we did some advisory things for different agencies and things like that. I was selected 3 years ago for an advisory board for state office CMS to be able to help squads that are in need or have issues or things like that. So that's been very beneficial. We kind of are a free contractor through the office of EMS. In budget processes, I've prepared budgets in the past, employee engagements and things like that. Our most important assets are employees. That's certainly what we have to keep these folks in mind. That's our bread and butter. That's what makes us do the things we can do. So getting the right people in the right places, elevating that level that's necessary to provide that quality care, both in fire and EMS. Understanding the needs of the community and being financially prudent to our taxpayers, our people in the community and our visitors. So being able to provide that service is certainly the crucial to what we're going. Again, it's all about relationships. It's the relationships that we develop over time. I think everybody in this room have had some kind of relationship at some point in time with some things good, some things bad. But we work through those problems and develop that. Newspapers and things like that, we get still in the back wall. Where we did some classes and training and things, and we got the news media, and we're to kind of look at positive things. We kind of focus too much on negative sometimes, it says, but we want to focus on positive as well. So just continuing that process. Again, we've got lots of training equipment, an ambulance, fire truck. We've expanded greatly in the past 3 to 5 years. I see some really great opportunities coming up in the next 3 to 5 years. I think we're going to step it up to another level. Kind of expand on some of the things we're doing. Being again financially prudent. Understand what the needs of the volunteer agencies are, what our community needs. Again, training. We do a lot of the entry level training, so we can recruit within. When people come in and take classes, we can kind of see how they work, how they do things. Do they have what we want to hire them for this agency? So that's certainly been a beneficial process.
42 seconds.
Yeah, of course.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
again, I really appreciate the opportunity. Again, I live in this county, I'm not retired from someplace. If I don't do a good job, I don't have a salary to back me up or retirement to back me up. I have to rely on doing a good job because it's my livelihood, it's how I'm gonna survive. So I have pride in that I want to be able to provide that for our community. Had opportunity to get someplace else. They paid me twice as much money, a couple of years ago. And didn't think I wanted here, I want to be here. This was a goal when I actually came to do, was to be in this position.
Time.
All righty, thank you. Any board members have any questions?
Just, I have one. Where, you mentioned you were a director in the past. Where were you a director at?
West Virginia PMS TSN, West Virginia PMS TSN, and Berkeley Medical Center or West Virginia Hospitals East as well. That's safety and security director.
How long were you there in that capacity?
PSN was 9 years. Berkeley Medical Center, which ended up being Berkeley and Jefferson for 6 years.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What do you see as the biggest challenges going forward for this agency?
Funding for our volunteer partners, how we're gonna get that squared away. What processes may change, understanding that it's an ever-changing environment, what we need to provide. So I think again, and just kind of maintain the ship that the path that we're going and just kind of continue with that, so.
When you say funding, how much, how big do you think the gap is right now?
Well, based off the various meetings, the chiefs meetings, the Jefferson County Fire and Rescue Association meetings, there's several different ways that problem could be solved, whether it be paying for life services, worker comp, insurance, fuels, things like that, or not giving everyone the same amount of money, but maybe prorating that the people that need more. Or whatever. So there's a variety. I'm not gonna give them secret sauce away.
Very good.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir?
Sir.
Well, that being the two that we brought forward to the board, we'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there any further discussion or comment regarding the two candidates that we saw?
I would just like to add that I think they're both highly qualified. So it is a tough decision to make. On one end, I think Bob is going to be more operational budget. On the other hand, Craig has ties with the state and seems to know how to really get those grants and is really into the education. So that's how I kind of see it on both sides.
Thank you, Dr. Treese. Anybody else have any comments?
To me, the most important asset, and it was brought up by both of them, in any organization with people. And it seems to me that both of these people care about the people that are out there on the street doing a job that risk their lives every day. And that are there doing the job, saving our communities, people in our communities, their lives and our visitors. And I would commend both of them because I think out of both their mouths came that those people were the most important thing.
Yeah, I echo both of your comments in that we're very fortunate to have two people from within this organization like that have the kind of experience and dedication. Any further comments?
I was just gonna say, now you know why we decided to advance to the board and not make the decision on our own, so
Yeah, it's
it's a
tough.
tough decision.
It
I
certainly
think it's
is.
going to be tough. I mean, they're both very qualified people.
Right. So,
And I think I should probably bring this up. Um, we asked both of them, because of working together now, if they could work with the other one, if the other one got promoted, and they both said yes. I just think that's an important thing for the board members to know.
That's great. Any other questions that were asked that might give us a clue here, as to, that you thought were particularly key questions? Like, Tony, you were on the committee, were there, what kind of questions were asked of these individuals to vet them?
It really, I think this is where you really wish you could interview staff more than anything.
Yeah.
Because when you have two people, now you want to know, what do the people underneath them think? I think that makes a difference. It's never an easy thing to figure it out, because while they're both somewhat the same, they both, I think, are a little bit different in that I think Craig is here, well, their jobs. Bob has been more on the operational side, and Craig has been more of the, I don't want to call the administration side, but dealing with the other aspects, not the day-to-day staffing issues that come up. So.
Yeah, I've had a lot of experience with Craig. He comes to the trauma meetings at Jefferson. He's who I have on, I call him if I have any questions. He always answers the phone. He's always been helpful. He's come to meetings at Jefferson that I've asked him to come to that he normally doesn't. So I will say I've had worked more closely with Craig than I had with Bob. And I don't know if that skews me a little bit just because I know how Craig works, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys know that he's really stepped up anytime I've asked anything of him.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Jackson?
No, that was one of my questions, which Simpson just mentioned was, can you, if your counterpart is the one selected, can you report to them and, still maintain your responsibilities? And both answered that they could.
Are you looking for opinions, or you just?
Well, there are, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people here that are going to vote.
But yeah, you're part of the committee, and you're a non-voting member, but by all means.
Well, working sweet, knowing both individuals in the past. I think this community and this agency will get a bigger bang for the buck going with Mr. Berman. I'm sorry.
Mr. Burton.
With Bob.
Okay.
I sincerely feel that way.
Anybody else have an opinion? Well, anybody else? Well, yeah. All right. If there aren't any further comments or questions, then it comes down to a vote. And here's how it works. According to Robert's Rules of Order, the chair doesn't vote unless we need to break a tie. So, we will have a vote of the 4 people who are voting members of this board, and we should just go around. We should go this way?
Well, I'm just saying they're the only 4 that can vote.
Yes. So, Mr. Harris, what say ye?
Because it was one of the first things out of his mouth was about the people. And when I was in a leadership role, the people, one of the first things that I observed when I went into that role was, the people were very, very discontent with how they had been treated and, they weren't happy. I made it a point to get to know my people. And I believe that the people are the most important part of any organization. And because it was one of the first things out of Bob's mouth, my vote is going to go for Bob.
Okay. Tony?
Bob was not my first choice when all this started, but with people that I know that I respect and that I value their opinion. People back here, I'm gonna vote for Bob too.
Mr. Simpson?
Bob,
What should you got?
It is hard because I go way back with Craig. I know them both, but I have worked,
yeah, I've known them both for
right.
20+ years.
I've worked with Bob up close and personal with the agency for quite a few years. I tend to agree with the employees, and Chief Morgan is that Bob would be the better choice.
Okay. Well, it appears that the Bobs have it. And
Okay.
so
Hey
since
guys, I
that was,
gotta go real quick, now that you guys have made your decision, so I can hit the other meeting up. I apologize, I'm leaving early.
Thanks, Dr. Trees.
thank you for attending and for contributing.
Yep, no problem. Have a great
All
evening.
right. You too. Thank you very much. All right. So then, having conducted the only order of business for tonight's special meeting,
I will say one thing before we
Yeah.
adjourn, we gonna adjourn?
absolutely.
So it would be I won't be on the board at the time, but it would be as a citizen of this county and also someone who's kind of changed his ideas about what makes someone good at their job. I would hope that going forward, when we bring forth job announcements or anything else, that we will seriously not look to a piece of paper from a university as a prerequisite. I think that in this day and age, someone can do any job that they want and be outstanding at it, and they don't have to have a degree in anything. I think that we limited ourselves, but I'm okay with what we've done, but I think that going forward, we need to get out of this idea that a college education is this cure-all for people's abilities. And I think we didn't get applicants who would have been very good applicants based upon the fact that we put that prerequisite onto it. So that's my.
Tony, I agree with you. completely.
To add to that, maybe we should, as soon as everything washes out and gets started back, maybe we should set up a committee
Yeah.
to go ahead and redo the job description. Because one of the big things that I didn't want to do, and Tricia will tell you, there was a thing written in there that the board could change, blah, blah, blah. We took that out because that's not fair. Whenever you have a piece of paper that says, this is what the job description is, this is what you need, you can't have a line on the bottom that says the board can change it. That's like going fishing and you're out in the boat. Well, you have to get over in the other boat because you're out in the middle of water now, but you have to get over in the other boat. That's just not right.
But can I just interject just a little bit, just to put my HR cap on for a second? So a job description is just what Tony's talking about. There's your list of duties. Can you do them? The posting is where we're saying, here's the qualifications or the prerequisites we're requiring to do these things. So it's just changing the job posting and not necessarily the description.
Right.
Because the responsibilities stay the same. You still gotta run an agency the same. It's when you're looking for candidates that you're deciding on, is this really pertinent in order to do these things? So we don't necessarily need to change the job description of the
No.
roles and responsibilities.
I think the way in which we go about hiring, not only in this agency, but as the county whole and as the state and as the nation. We've gotten ourselves into this idea that spending a ton of money and wasting, I prove it, I wasted a lot of time going to a university that did nothing for my job. And I think we need to get away from that as a society.
I can relate to that. Really, I can. Any further comments? All right, I really want to thank the committee and thank you, Twiggy, for having led that and having put in this work, and every member of the committee. That would be Commissioner Jackson, that would be Mr. Troxel, and Dr. Treese. Really a sincere thank you for the work that you did, and this process, I think, really benefited the agency. And I think going forward, we still have two really good people. Hopefully, if what you say is true, which I'm sure it is.
That's what we were told.
Yes, right. So I think the agency is in good hands. So with that,
Before you do that, I think we should bring them in and tell them.
Let's keep them hanging out.
good choice.
Lead them around for a couple days, not knowing what's gonna happen.
Yeah, everybody's sworn to secret and we can't tell them. Where's he live, on the mountain?
Yes,
I knew he did, I was just teasing.
we all do, right?
Come on in. Thank you. Twiggy. Do you want to make the announcement, or should I?
Your chair, you can do it.
All right, I'll, after really long, hard, serious consideration and through this whole process, the board has decided on Bob Burner. And thank you both for your, for putting yourselves out there for the job. And we think that with both of you going forward, hopefully, the agency is in good hands. So you have any questions or any concerns?
Appreciate the board's confidence, and I'll do my best to meet and exceed everyone's expectations.
I just wanted to say, as chairman of the committee, it was a tough decision.
Yeah, there was a
It
lot of
really was.
angst even in this room over. We feel blessed to have had two such great qualified candidates. All right, without any further comment? All right, so then at the order of business having been completed for this special board meeting, time now is 6:41. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you, everybody.